Hello and welcome to another prediction video from Force 13. Once again, we're here in 2026 looking ahead to the hurricane and typhoon seasons in the Northern Hemisphere up ahead of us. Well, it's going to be an interesting one. I'm sure you've heard a lot of chatter about how we've got this developing El Nino and suggestions that the Atlantic might for once have a quiet season. Now, of course, it has been a busy start to the season. There's been 6 named systems, although I believe only 5 were actually tropical storms. We had the massive monster that was Typhoon Sinlaku, reaching 190 miles per hour, Category 5 super typhoon, and we also have active right now Typhoon Jangmi, which is going on to affect Japan. Bearing all of that in mind, those numbers are included in our projection. We are expecting in the Western Pacific a total of 29 tropical storms, 15 typhoons, and 9 majors in 2026. We are expecting a 20% chance of a below average season, 34% near average, and more of a chance, 46% for an above average season. Average would be between, let me get this right, 24 to 28 storms in the Western Pacific is considered the average band. So 29 on the forecast is above average. Looking at the likely significant typhoon tracks, the Western Pacific is another curious one as well, because long-range climate modeling is predicting a massive blocking high or suppressed activity at the least round about the peak season, September, October. We're going to take that with a pinch of salt. Obviously, with the El Nino factor, anything can happen in the Western Pacific. But that has been factored in a little bit with our forecast, which is preventing us from going with higher numbers. Still, an above average season expected. So, chances of storm and typhoon impacts significantly elevated in many areas for 2026. This is the big takeaway from this, because we've got, I don't want to say unprecedented, I'm not sure, but much higher chances of storm impacts pretty much everywhere that usually get hit by storms in the Western Pacific this year. So strong signals favoring long-tracked and intense typhoons in the open Pacific. We're talking about those classic El Nino tracks, storms that form way out into the open ocean of the Western Pacific towards the international dateline, maybe even an East Pac crossover, and then moving on all the way through past Micronesia to the north, maybe going on to affect the Mariana Islands, or some of them perhaps going on all the way to the Philippines. In fact, we are pretty confident that we're going to see at least one storm that does just that. Maybe not all the way from the Central Pacific, but from the Western Pacific, 160 degrees west or so, east. So, the areas that we're looking at in particular, with elevated chances, the Mariana Islands, as mentioned, the Visayas region of the Philippines, and northeastern Luzon. All of those chances are much higher there. Early season activity will enhance rainfall and could deliver impacts to the western side of the Philippine Islands and to Taiwan. We're talking about the next 4 to 6 weeks, I would say, for that potential. Big elevations of rain being indicated for parts of the western part of Luzon in particular, and also for the eastern part of Taiwan. So, is it typhoon related or not? We'll have to see. A very high chance of significant typhoon impacts likely in southern Taiwan and southern China, particularly around the middle of the season. Again, it could be one of those long-tracking typhoons that goes on to affect China, Guangdong province, possibly the Litsu Peninsula, possibly the eastern coast of Hainan, or maybe all three. And later on in the season, as mentioned, uncertainty very high, due to the potential for activity to be suppressed despite the warm waters of the El Nino. One or more hurricanes could cross into the Western Pacific, but are not likely to cover great distances in this basin. So we are not actually expecting a hurricane to go all the way through the Western Pacific. It's much more likely that if a hurricane crosses into the Western Pacific, that it will recurve quite quickly or peter out quite quickly before it reaches the same longitude as the Marshall Islands. Also, we are looking at southern Korea and large parts of southern Japan also implicated with higher chances of typhoon impact, especially when you look at those tracks. Of course, Japan all being affected already by tropical storm typhoon Jangmi. So that will tick off the tropical storm box when we look at the chances of tropical storm impacts as we take a look at the land areas here. If you're familiar with our percentages, they are pretty much the highest percentages we've given out for some of these areas, particularly the Philippines, southern China, southern Taiwan, and probably for southern Japan as well, looking at massive numbers there, into 60% or more, and for South Korea as well, up to and possibly above 45% for some of those locations too. Pretty incredible numbers. So much so that we've actually done a graphic that might be a bit more useful, denoting the percent chances for typhoon conditions. So this is storms with winds of 75 miles per hour or higher, and we're still looking at a 60% chance for the southern tip of Taiwan. Obviously for parts of the Philippines as well, big line through the Visayas region there, 45%, and for large parts of southern Japan, 30% plus, southern Kyushu, southern Shikoku, and also, I forget the name of that area, but just to the west of Nagoya, south of Kyoto and Osaka. Higher chances. And looking towards the southern coast of China, and don't forget Vietnam as well. Higher chances in the midsection of the Vietnamese coast this year too. Just to recap those numbers, in the Atlantic we are expecting 12 storms, 6 hurricanes and 2 majors. In the Eastern Pacific, 20 storms, 10 hurricanes and 5 majors. In the Western Pacific, 29 storms, 15 typhoons and 9 majors, including what we've already had so far. And North Indian Ocean, 5 tropical storms, 2 Category 1s and 1 Category 3 plus major.